tea with Cal. Longevity with Cal.
After my morning water. The first thing in the morning I do is I wake up and I do my water and I take my salt, my Himalayan salt, and then I will have a juice or smoothie like we covered. And this is basically what I do next, along with the vitamins and supplements I take, which will be another quick video. What I do is I take my morning kombucha. In fact, in the States, in Chicago, some of my friends call me Kombucha instead of just Cal. So, because they know that I'm big on kombucha and other fermented foods, especially if we're accustomed to living in the States and really all over the world, because it's a global problem. Our stomach and our intestines are all under attack, especially when you're talking into the GMOs and all the Roundup that they're using and the things they're spraying in the air and the contaminants that we're up against in the processed foods. So we need to really bulk up on our defenses, and that's summed up in one word, which is probiotics. So as many probiotic strains we can activate in our system, the better that's going to be. And again, before I continue, I'm going to go ahead and just put out the disclaimer that I'm going to put out. Do not do any of the things that I'm talking about. Just make it easy on yourself. Just learn the things that I'm doing. Keep watching. And with that, go ahead and hit subscribe and enable notifications so you can get the next video that I have in this series. Because as I roll out my daily routines, each habit, each item is going to be its own little video demonstration. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Smash up the old likes for me, because I would like to get this message out to as many people as possible. We have people my age and younger that are already curious about longevity. We have people my mom's age, the baby boomers age, which are really into longevity now and trying to expand their thinking from the traditional path of the medical AMA educational system. So with that, I really want to impact as many people as possible while I'm here on vacation in Mexico. It's a lot more chill. It's a really great vibe. And so I have time to put up videos like this. So I'm going to go ahead and do so for all of our benefits. So today we're going to cover the kombucha. And what's great about that is that it's easy to do, it's easy to make. It's basically just like making tea in the morning. You can make your kombucha, get a supply that'll work for you, that'll last, through the week, and it's just basically a weekly ritual, So what you'll need, well, actually, again, I didn't finish with my disclaimer, sorry. Don't do what I do, don't try any of this, just watch and keep on learning. And if in fact, one day you do see how easy it is and you find yourself, doing any of these items, or just simply buying a kombucha and buying your kombucha daily, which is also fabulous, go ahead and let me know about it. Make it easy to leave me a comment or send me a message. I have my social media information. It should be here. I'm open to hear from as many people. I love to meet and chat with new people. So yeah, with that, let's get into the kombucha making. So you will need the list of items that are needed. Obviously a stovetop. I'm keeping it real simple here. In the Caribbean, in Latin America, all I have is just one tabletop burner that I use for my kombucha, because I do everything else I prepare raw. And not much is needed. So this is basically the whole setup that we're looking at, and I'm doing this way to show everybody how simple and easy it can in fact be. So if we let it be easy. And every time I do something where I'm proud of myself for taking care of myself and being the kind of person that is proactive about longevity, about health, about vitality, I hit the old easy button.
That was easy.
This is the easy button that you can get at Staples. And I bought a ton of them, because every time I do something productive. I celebrate it. I recognize that I'm the kind of person
That was easy.
that does good things for myself and others, and other qualities of being that are positive. And that's how we get those positive things to grow, and that's how we grow beyond our parameters we're working in currently, and really open up to the possibilities that life has to open to us, you know, and wants to reach us with. We just have to be willing and ready for it. So again, back to the list of ingredients and things that we need. You need some glass bottles, and of course here in Mexico, you know, it's not as, you know, some things are easier to come by. The easiest thing for me was these beer bottles, which I'm actually not much of a drinker. When I did first arrive here in Mexico, I did have a little bit of celebration time, and these were the bottles that came out of it. And I also have some of the smaller bottles that I use actually to drink the kombucha. The point being with these bottles is that they're glass. We don't want to use plastic, okay? We want to stay away from plastic as much as possible, and I'll hit on that in an upcoming video as well. So glass works best when we use the kombucha recipe. So these are going to be what we use to make the kombucha. We need a burner, some kind of a container, whether it's a tea kettle. I'm actually using just a basic pot that I got that has a pourer on it that I can use as well. And we need a tea, and the teas that work with kombucha are this tea, which I prefer because it's not caffeinated, because I also try to stay away from caffeine. So this is called hibiscus. So these are the hibiscus flower leaves that are dried, basically. So I don't know if you can see how that looks. These are actual hibiscuses that are dried. These are high in vitamin C and a lot of other antioxidants as well. So this is abundant here where I'm at, and this is what I prefer to use even in the States. The other option is green tea or black tea. Okay, so that's also, a lot of the kombucha brands are green tea based as well. So as you can see, what I'm doing to prepare is, I'll just tilt it a little. I don't know if you can really see that. I just have, the hibiscus leaves, or as they're called here, the word in Spanish, in Espanol, is, it's not jicama, it's Jamaica. Jamaica, agua de Jamaica. This is how they make that agua de Jamaica that has that pretty red rose color, almost a fuchsia color. I don't know if you can really see inside of there, but you can kind of see a glimpse of how that's turning out. And I don't really boil them. I try to keep it under boil just to kind of extract as much as I can out of it without hitting the boil point. But if we boil, that's fine as well. Obviously, we're going to need some purified water to do that in. And then once before I get into that step, I'm going to backtrack a little. The other key ingredient that we need is a store-bought bottle of kombucha. So that's it. If you buy kombucha every day, that's wonderful. If you take it ritually, it does get a little pricey because kombucha usually sells for about $3-4 a bottle. Actually, here in Mexico, at all my favorite vegan restaurants, it sells for even more than that. So when I was in Italy this year, I really didn't see much kombucha just yet. It probably hasn't hit that part in Italy yet. I know it is very, very popular in other parts of Italy. So before I go on further, I'm just going to resume all your ingredient lists. You need glass bottles, big and small. You need a pot with some purified water with some jicama or green tea. And you also need a bottle of kombucha that's from the store, because that's where we're going to take the culture. You can actually drink half of it and then leave the other half, just take it home with you. And what you can see, because I have, this is actually from last week's, what's left over. And being so hot and humid here, it's great. It really favors the growth of the culture that's alive in the probiotic. because the culture is, once it forms a kind of a protein probiotic bacteria culture. And in this one, I have and it's called a SCOBY. A SCOBY. A SCOBY. So here in this one, we see I have about a 3, it's about this size, about this deep already. That's just from, I didn't have to order a SCOBY online. I didn't have to have anybody give me a part of their SCOBY. All I had to do was start with a regular little leftover of kombucha, and it's all within a couple weeks, it's already formed a good, decent-sized SCOBY for me to work with. So this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the kombucha also in this bottle, because I'm going to do 2 bottles this week, because the 1 bottle isn't enough for me and my kombucha habits. Be careful not to drink too much. It has a 0.000 like 1% alcohol level in it, so don't drink and drive. Actually, I drink kombucha when I drive all the time, so don't worry about it. Just don't let those don't let those pigs bother you. So anyway, so what we're gonna do is now I have a good amount, I can tell by the color in my hibiscus that it's almost ready. So I'm gonna, while I'm waiting for it to be ready, I'm going to, just chat a little more about with everybody, just the benefits of having cultures and what that means to us, what that does for our body, the catalyst that it makes for so many things. And the SCOBYs actually, just a little fun point on that, a lot of vegans actually use those in a vegan sushi recipe as kind of a fish alternative, because it tastes kind of fishy because it's a bacteria, and it's fantastic for you. So I've tried it in that context, that I make an awesome raw vegan sushi, which maybe I'll throw out the recipe for that, or at least put in the quotes where you can get the link for that, and click on the link to get it, because it's actually one of Christina's recipes that I've embellished at Fully Raw Christina. Shout out to Fully Raw Christina. Love you, girl. So anyway, with that, the probiotics, we're so deprived of the probiotics, and most people think the only source of those is from yogurt, which is a source. Of course, I don't want the dairy in yogurt, so I just use maybe the coconut yogurt. That's another kind of strain. Each cultured vegetable, each cultured product is going to have its own strain. And to give you an idea, when we are born and when we're grow, that's why you see kids just naturally, like, if they get a chance, they're going to eat dirt. They're going to be out in the yard, they're just going to eat dirt by instinct, because they're growing that probiotic, those strains inside them, and hopefully they got a lot of those strains already from their mother. But we live in a culture in America that's, of course, that's not encouraged, that's actually sabotaged, because as the invention proliferated of antibiotics, that basically kills off in one foul sweep, thousands and thousands of strains of probiotics that we naturally have and need to really cause a lot of those digestive functions, cause a lot of those catalysts to happen in a truly clean stomach. And this is what I'll get into a lesson on supplements. In a truly clean stomach with all the probiotics, the vitamin B's just naturally happen. A lot of people try to scare us that, oh, well, the humans, we don't produce our own vitamin B's and C's. Well, that's hogwash. If we had all our probiotics, we would. If we had a clean stomach that wasn't filled with sugar and years of white flour and animal products blocking it all off and really blocking those elements from getting into our bloodstream or even being created in the first place, we would produce those things, and we do produce those things naturally. I do take vitamin B's just because sometimes, I don't eat completely raw, and if any of those, I do eat organic, but you know, if I'm out at a restaurant, if I'm just, you know, by chance taking in any Roundup from the spring, if it's not organic, I take the vitamin Bs anyway, just to be on the safe side. But my stomach, I feel it's to the point where it is clean enough to produce that on its own. But I haven't put out a video since my first one, actually my first two, just because, you know, I did have a nasty spill, which I alluded to in my second one. And it wasn't like a surfing accident or anything. It's actually pretty hilarious. I was all excited. I went ahead, got my hammock mounted in this beachside studio so I could kind of look at nature out at the beach, be on my computer, even sleep. I love sleeping in the hammock. It's fabulous. It gives you that incline, which I'll touch about in the future that we need too. So anyway, I didn't mount the hammock completely right. You know, in the wall it's mounted, but the thing I used to mount it to the finding in the wall, it wasn't the right thing. So I was swinging, you know, talking to my mom and my aunt on the phone, and then I came crashing down. And because of my space here, it wasn't really the right measurements, so I was pretty high up. I was about this high up when I came crashing down, right on my tailbone in the sitting position. I did not break my tailbone, thank God, but I really did mess my hip up, and I had, the first day it was hilarious. I couldn't even walk. I had to go crawling around my apartment. I was in excruciating pain. But my friends came and got me to kind of help me get to the, you know, an x-ray or something like that. And I had to, like, really, literally crawl around town. So I just pretended I was a dog or Pokemon or something with these little brats running around with their phones trying to zap me. Like they do, which is a whole other thing as well. But anyway, you know, once I got moving around and crawling around town, it really kind of adjusted and it popped back, and I did make it to the chiropractor, and he did some great all integral approach to chiropractic with the acupressure and, you know, the other disciplines, and he really got back most of my mobility. The only thing that really flares up is if I try to bend straight over like this. I hit a certain point and I get the shooting pains again, but it should take about a week or two for the hip to, you know, adjust itself and move back into its normal position without scraping or causing any, you know, friction. So that's not what we want. So that's what I've been dealing with. I have been waking up with pains during the night, so if I look a little not my usual self, it's probably because I'm, you know, haven't been sleeping as well. I got the dark circles going on because of that. And but anyway, back to the kombucha. So if you want to go ahead and send me your love and your hugs and your prayers, I do accept all those X's and O's. Thanks. Anyway, back to the kombucha. I have a great red, dark red color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the burner and just, I don't know if you can see, but it's a dark, you can tell the color's a lot darker there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off and I'm going to put it on my Apple thing here and my Apple cutting board. And now the thing is that needs to cool, because that's the big thing when we're making our kombucha. If we're putting in the boiling water into our glass bottle that we're going to use as our ferment, that will kill the probiotic instantly. So the most important thing when we're making the kombucha is wait for the tea to bring down the temperature, to cool naturally. It doesn't have to be room temperature, just around room temperature, and can't be anywhere near boiling. So, of course, I have a good SCOBY going already. You know, I think if I put it in right now, it still might work. But to be on the safe side, we want all of our probiotic cultures intact. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the video as this cools. Not that I don't have a lot more to share with you. It's just I want to make this kind of easy. A lot of times this information overload can be a little overwhelming, so I'm just going to do one thing at a time. So hey, we're back. So now I have this cooled down at least to a reasonable level. It's not quite at room temperature, but it's not hot enough to kill all the probiotics. So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead. I'm gonna do this over my sink so I don't get any additional spillage. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this up a little. Try not to get this everywhere. I have some of the hibiscus leaves or flowers trying to get out of the pot. So as you'll see with this, I'm leaving some air here because what happens is that, I don't know if you can see, it's about this high right now. So I'm leaving some air here so that as the ferment happens, it doesn't, the pressure doesn't build up too much and it doesn't pop the lid off or anything. So, so that's going to be good with this bottle, and now I'm going to add the rest to the second one. And I don't know if you can actually kind of see, I don't know if you can see the SCOBY in there swimming around. It looks kind of gross, I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, kombucha in itself is, it's an acquired taste. It's not sweet. It is soda. It is fizzy. There's ways to make it fizzier, and I don't do that because I've had too many kombucha explosions in the car. If I do want to make it fizzier, I will add some chia seeds, but that's not at this step yet. So the chia seeds would come in later, but the addition of chia seeds kind of keep the fizz going, if you will, and keep those. It keeps those probiotics eating and feeding, so they're producing more and more fizz. So I've had it to where I've been driving around, or I've stopped and I opened the kombucha bottle and it just explodes all over the roof of my car. Tons and tons of chia seeds, and then I'm out of the gas station trying to, get into their paper towels so I can clean everything out. I had some lady come up and be like, is that vomit? I'm like, no, it's kombucha. Because with the chia seeds, of course, they're kind of chunky. So anyway, back to the task at hand. So I have this. I filled it up a little too high because I'm distracted with talking to you. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the sugar. So again, I already commented on the type of the sugar. Do not use the regular refined sugar, because as we know, that is a GMO product. And it is very, very unhealthy because it's refined to the point where it's, basically chemical based, and it's a huge shot to your system, to your blood sugar, and it gets stored right into fat cells because your body doesn't know what to do with it. So this at least is the whole and organic cane sugar. So what I'm going to use with this is just very rudimentary. You can see this is not complicated. It's not rocket science. I don't even have all of the utensils that I'm accustomed to having, but I'm just going to use a spoon. I'm going to take the sugar like this, about a tablespoon like that, and I'm just going to, I don't even have a funnel at this point, so I've got to get myself a funnel and a strainer, and those are the next things I'm going to get. So I'm just using my fingers as a little funnel here to kind of funnel that sugar in over the sink, because I don't want it escaping all over my counter, because in the tropics there's all kinds of life and vitality, and that includes insects of all sorts. And of course here in my studio, the only problem I've had so far is with the ants, and I think I finally got rid of them. I got rid of them naturally, which I can do a whole other thing out. I'm going to make a video on chemicals and medications, and that's going to be in that video. But anyway, So this is the 3rd tablespoon of sugar, of organic whole cane sugar. And I'm going to do 4 and 5. I don't, for me it's not an exact science. On my last batch of kombucha, it really had a pleasant, very pleasant flavor to it. It wasn't too vinegary. What happens is if you let the kombucha ferment too much and all the sugar gets eaten up, it turns very sour and vinegary, which I like bitter. I like sharp. That's why I love kombucha. That's why they call me Kalbucha. But I don't like it to the point where it's like drinking vinegar. So that's why, I have it. I'm putting in more sugar so that it has some reserves, so the taste will turn out a little more pleasant, if you will. And I'm just gonna, before I set this bottle down, I'm gonna wash the outside of the bottle a little, just with some water, just to get rid of that excess sugar. Because I just got rid of the ants. I don't want them attracted back to my place here. So, so I'm gonna go ahead and cap that off. And the great thing about these beer bottles too is I'm using the original cap. So when when you go ahead and cap it, it's not completely like totally airtight. It does have some little air, and that's what you want. If I think my mom, what she uses is like a cloth and some type of elastic over the cloth as well. And then a lid, so she uses these big mason jars to make hers. And I think she uses the mason jars and she uses this other big vat, which has kind of a pointy escape like this. It comes to a pointy bottle escape like this. So that's the ideal size and shape that you want out of your bottles, but you can use the mason jars as well. And I think she doesn't cork it all the way airtight either. So just to allow some of that pressure to escape. So that one is done. Basically, you just from there you just want to store these bottles, and then it really depends on where you live. You of course, no matter where you live, you want to store the bottles in a dark place. That's best for the ferment. But if you don't live in the tropics, you definitely want to let it, especially in the fall, winter, or spring, when it's not hot out, you don't want to let it go more than a week in its ferment. So here in the tropics, actually, I could even harvest this kombucha on the date, a lot sooner than that. I've been letting it go a week, and that's probably why I'm getting more of a vinegary, more of a sharp, not quite vinegary, but more of a sharp taste to it, because it's basically eating all that kombucha, but eating all that sugar. But basically, I can probably do the second step within about 3 days. In fact, that's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to let it go ferment 3 days, and then the second step is what I will outline in part 2 of this video. And so you can see the entire process. This is the first half, because there's another brief re-ferment that lasts about a day after the initial main ferment. So the day-long ferment is when it's just about ready. It's pretty much kombucha already. We're just putting in some sugar for taste, and we're adding whatever flavor we want the kombucha to ultimately have. So I'll save that for the second part of this raw fermented foods series in our longevity series. So with that, everyone, stay safe. Keep being your fabulous selves. Smash up the old likes if anything in this video was informative, entertaining. And again, if you don't try it at home until you do your research, until you're at the point where it just becomes natural and easy for you, don't do that push energy with longevity. Longevity is a long haul thing. It's a very day-by-day, baby step type of mentality. We're learning one thing, we're learning something else, and eventually we're going to put something in place, and that leads to something else, and we're just redoing our habits. And that's some people can do it just all at once, but that's not most people. So what I recommend is just take it easy on yourself and just learn And with that, you make it a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time with Longevity with Cal. Ciao, ciao.